Another live session with Paintology, the drawing app that's going to make you a great artist. Yeah, and if you think that the app is going to make you a great artist, you're quite mistaken. And when I say it in the manner that you should already know that the drawing app is a tool to get you to develop the important techniques of drawing and painting that's going to make you a great artist. Just keep that in mind. It's the same analogy I use that you don't judge a carpenter by the set of tools that he keeps, but more by the craftsmanship and the work he produces. Same analogy, and it applies to all skills. The mistakes that many beginners tend to make is that they presume that something outside of their own skill set is somehow going to launch them into acquiring skills. And when they fail in their first few attempts, they throw up their hands up in the air and blame it on something else, but not entirely on their own selves for the lack of trying. So it is the nature of the world, nature of how people go about things, but it's very important that you're true to yourself. If you're not true to yourself, you will not acquire some of the dreams and ambitions that you were built and wired to do, right? And achieve all those great things in life. So I'm a great believer of that. And the reason why I developed the Paintology app was to allow people to develop their art skills, unlike the other apps, which just puts every tool under the sun for you to make drawings. I go about it completely differently based on my expertise in as a young artist when I was good, but then it remained dormant for many years, and then I kept pursuing the art later on in life. It's one of those things when you become passionate about it, it will come to you very easily. But if you feel negative energy out there, throw negative energy, it won't come to you. You will be hunting for for answers and you won't get it. So this is it's a bit of a philosophy that I threw in there, but in essence, Paintology goes about it completely different. If you've come to the app to look for tools to do the drawings, such as this one, this one I completed yesterday. If you're looking for tools for you to do this and get to this, you are thinking very differently to what a skilled artist thinks about. So skilled artists will never think like that. They will know that it takes patience, practice, and a desire to improve. Yeah. So, but if you're looking for shortcuts in this day of shortcuts, sadly, then you may be looking for that. And of course, you can doodle. By all means, you can go to the home page and just doodle as much as you like. So let me show you a few drawings to get you started. This one was the one I completed yesterday on the phone. You can see that the process that I used to make this drawing was explained in the live stream, and I didn't shift or move away from the tool sets that I was using, which was simply the line brush and then using the line brush and the shade. That's it. Did I go for blending, blurring, auto corrections, and all that? No. It was all simply done by those tool sets. And if you want to see it, you're welcome to see the live stream on the live stream tab of the YouTube channel. Yeah. So you can see that when I went through this particular drawing, the beauty, keep this in mind, the beauty of drawing and painting is that you always learn something, even where you may think that, I have got good set of skills and I'm drawing really well, you may think, well, he's reached a level, he doesn't need to learn anymore. That's a completely wrong thinking. I do not think that way. I continue to expand and my skill set, and it's the reason why I can take something exceptionally far, way beyond a lot of other people in my life as well. I've taken things to levels where majority would not be able to, and that is entirely of my own making. The way that I operate, the way I think, the way I develop my mindset. And I'm no artist. I do not come from an art background, but you, some of you, a lot of you, a lot of my friends or circle or people around my circle thinks that I've had formal training in art, which is quite flattering, but no, I have not. My training was in electrical electronics engineering, and I went on to pursue a PhD. And then I remained in technology for a good part of my life until I'd rediscovered drawing and painting. That's all. And then I applied it to my technical knowledge in app Paintology, and hence Paintology was born. Okay, that's enough of me. And now let's. I cannot go through the details of this until I go through the whole process of drawing. And there is something which I talk about, which is the process of drawing. And that is so important to understand if you want to reach a particular level in drawing. You don't want, for heaven's sakes, you don't want tools to decide how far you can go in your drawing. You want to, let me show you another one. I don't have any more, sorry, these are all landscape drawings. But anyway, the point is, let me show you actually on my drive some of the drawings, and you will notice that there's no way anyone could actually say for sure that this was done using using digital, because nobody can actually look at my drawings and conclusively say it was done digitally, and that's because I started drawing in hand. This was the one I did very early on. I was learning, and now I can see that I was at the early stage of learning. This was early on, meaning 4 weeks ago. That's all. Oh, okay. I'm mistaken. 2 months ago. Okay. This was one I did, and again, it's on the live stream. And let me show you a few others. Because the you feel a passion for drawing, and the passion for drawing comes about through being able to pick up these important skills. And if you're rushing for tools, you're going to restrict yourself to the kind of drawings that are typically considered, quote, digital art, right? But if you look at my drawing, would you be conclusively say that this was done on digitally or not? You can't. You just cannot. Why? Because I take the fundamental skills of art from traditional and apply to digital, and I'm able to draw way faster than someone with particular digital tools. So this, I have no restrictions when it comes to drawing at a level that I want to take it. So if you go through the path, you're free to go through the path of using all the tools, but eventually you will be limited by the tools themselves. I'll give you an example where I posed a question: why isn't there more realistic, photorealistic digital art in online? And she comes back. She's a traditional artist. And she's done to digital. And she comes back and says that digital art looks like photos. And I'm thinking, what, photos? They don't look like photos. I can easily tell if something was done digitally because it's been used all kinds of digital tools to get it to where it is, even if it looks photographic, but I can still tell because it's just too perfect. It doesn't look natural. Look at the natural transition of this. You can't get that natural with digital tools, right? You just cannot. And then um, she goes that I when I drew my son, I had to after I did the digital drawing, I had to adjust the hair to make it look natural and disheveled and all that. And I thought, what is that? Why? Well, no, and I realized what she was talking about. And then I told her that, why didn't you start out doing it manually in the first place? And then I showed one of her drawings. Unfortunately, I never heard from her. I would have liked to have continued that conversation and see what her points of views were. I think it's just that people have not been presented with this kind of techniques and art. Believe me, you're not alone in this. This method of drawing doesn't even exist in the academic circles. That's because they're already adopted the fact that digital art is done in a particular way using tools. They've even actually um, fleshed out that traditional art and digital art are two mediums separate from each other, which is sad because as an academic, you should know that any art mediums should, the skills, the fundamental core skills should apply to both any art medium. So with the Paintology, all I can tell you is that if you pick up the skills and art techniques, believe me, you will be much more tuned to applying these techniques to other art mediums. For example, traditional pencil and paper, and then you may find that the limitations of those will come into being because you've had so much more versatility and power on the digital medium. I believe that I've surpassed my ability in tradition, and I was a pretty good artist in the traditional, up there with the best. And but I have surpassed. I cannot make photorealistic drawings. This is one I did where I cannot make that level of drawings in the same space of time with give me a traditional paper and pencil. So this is one of the early ones I did. So there's plenty of examples that you can see. So how do you go about it? Well, beginners will think, no, I need tools, I need tools, I need something to direct me. Well, if you need something to direct you, then you should have the patience to, let me see, to go through this classwork that was created. The Paintology classroom, you can see here, it was, I spent maybe 2 months on this, trying to create a highly structured course for all beginners to rapidly go through the learning phase of the fundamental and core skills in art, and with the practice sessions of the tutorials that are found on the app. So believe me, I don't think anything like this is the one of its kind. Anything like this exists. If it does, please let me know so I can take some of the ideas or apply some of the ideas. So these are so the practice sessions that you go through, many examples, and I encourage you to sign up to that. So if you are a little skeptical of doing something, but if your interest is not to push your skills to a higher level, then of course you have another approach. Why, you may have other skills that you want to tackle, maybe you haven't found the particular skill set, but drawing and painting is such a wonderful hobby. It's the reason why people take it up. So that's the reason for Paintology. So this is typically the way I draw. This is the phone that I'm holding and talking to you, and this is the finger I use to. It's actually a drawing of a cat I did in a very short space of time with the app, and you can do the same just using your fingers. So it's not, you don't need a stylus, but recently I've been using more of a stylus because I draw a lot, for the demonstration purposes and for putting it up on YouTube and attracting people to my channel, so then they can enjoy the love and the real passion what drawing is all about. And believe me, if someone has told you, digital artists have been telling you, go for Photoshop, hook up Wacom tablets, and then get the highest accelerator you can and all that. They're talking from their point of view, right? You have to think about that hard because I'm an advanced user of Photoshop. You can ask me any questions related to Photoshop, but if I were to draw in the most pleasantry way of drawing and painting, it would be just like traditional. That's why traditional painting and drawing is still by far one of the biggest passions that people possess, hobbies. It is by far, and it's not going to wane or it's not going to go down at all. Digital art is something which a lot of people have in their possession, phones, tablet, and then they just like to doodle, and then after creating a one piece of drawing, they carry on and they're looking for more tools. So they have a different approach, right? So majority will have a different approach. But when you do Paintology, it's quite a different matter. Okay, so let's show you. That's, I had the, here it is. Was it? Where was it? I had it somewhere. Chrome. Yes, so here, I mean, if you want to do the drawing that I'm going to do today, please go to the paintology.com and then go down if you want to see the reference. It will also have it in the link of the YouTube streaming session. Just go below the video, click on that link, live streams Google, and you'll find. You can see here I'm got a image link to 20th September, and I will be making this drawing. Typically, I've been recently I've been doing more of the sunset, and there's a good reason for doing that sunset drawing that I was showing you earlier, and that is because this the ability here. Let's open this up, because what it is that it actually develops. It's more forgiving on the tones at the higher end. What I mean by tones and values at the higher end, and you go to any art class, believe me, they will talk about tones and values, all art classes in drawing, even in painting. And the reason for that is because these are the colors and tones that make up a 3D drawing. And they apply that to 3D animation as well. But they use lots of tools for that, and therefore it looks animated. It never can look realistic, although they are moving towards that direction and they're getting close to it. If not completely right, they are getting close to it. And these are the tools that they use, highly sophisticated tools. But I also encourage you to, if you want to go down that path, to learn the fundamentals of art. And you can go to paintology.com, check out the blog posts, many of the blog posts, including the paintology.quora.com, where you'll be able to follow some of the daily updates I make on with regards to Paintology app. And the reason for choosing this sunset is because if you look at the live stream, you'll see that I come to a point where I come and do this particular drawing, and the eyes makes out that this particular color is blue. Look at the color. Just look at it. Our eyes are making out. Look at the color picker that I picked. It's dark. You cannot tell me that you can see a blue in that. And no, we know that those look like cloud. Though next to that blue looks like the rim of the cloud. Look at that color. You can see this is a perfect example of how you can increase the threshold of the tones and create a realistic image. These are some of the points that you're going to learn, and believe me, with this drawing I also learned one or two things. Look, we're now producing the perimeter of the color of the clouds, as well as the distant and the lines of the landscape, and then the foreground in here, and all with two brushes. And then the blending I did here was done with the shade brush. and then that's easily done as well. So now let's discard this, and now let's come back to our drawing that we're going to do. So you can load any drawing, any image that comes to your mind, but you can't do it until you've learned a few techniques and art techniques. And block coloring was introduced into Paintology a year ago in order for you to master tones and values. You will go to any art lesson. Anyone who goes and talks about fundamentals will talk about tones and values. Believe me, if they talk about anything else like the tools, then they're obviously promoting that tool set. They're not talking about the real fundamentals art techniques. So let's go to trace image and pick up the the image. Sorry, I haven't got it loaded. It's my daughter having fun. So I need to go back to this one and then just download this image. So I can do it that way. And then it's downloaded, and then I can go here, pick it up. And there it is. So now I have it on my canvas in trace mode, okay? Now this trace mode is really fundamental to improving, very important to improving your skill set. Don't listen to people who say, "Oh, you shouldn't be drawing in trace." No, they've never drawn in their lives, and they never probably will. But they've seen so much freehand drawing, and they're thinking the skill has to be marveled at people who just produce something from nothing, yeah? But remember, all artists, everyone you can think of, the great artists, have found any tools that will enhance their skills more rapidly. You can go ahead, not use trace and follow their advice, and believe me, you'll take 100 times longer in acquiring the skill sets. So, you're free to do that if you take their advice, because they don't know anything about picking up skills. So all the great artists have done that. You've heard of camera obscura. That was one of the most profound tools in the late 18th, 17th century, which allowed people to project an image onto a canvas so they can use the materials, traditional materials, to put the color, form, and even the perspective of that particular piece, particular drawing that they were painting they want to do. So this is what we're going to teach you. I'm not showing you off this. You've seen what the artwork can do, and believe me, I showed you that hibiscus flower. It was done manually. It was done with looking at an image and then just freehand drawing, and I can only do that because I've acquired these skills, right? So we've got this here. The top half, if you're new, top half is the reference image. The color picker picks up. So I'm in the line brush. I'll take it to 100%, not to confuse you. And then look, let's pick the color picker of that. Pick the color picker of that. Pick the color of the reference image there. Pick the pink color. Look at that. Look at all these beautiful colors that was picked up. These are the exact colors of the reference image, and we can take full advantage of this. And this is why my technology background comes into it, where I can couple the technology needs to the drawing. So this is one of the apps that have been developed by an artist, you know, and most of the apps are designed for the purpose in mind of attracting a lot of users and getting them to use it and making money, right? This, the aim is to attract you to learn the techniques of art, to improve your techniques. I want everyone at some stage using the app. And why do I want to do that? Because they spend far too much time on social websites. I want a big chunk, not big, a small chunk of the Facebook users who are constantly chatting away, immersed in chit chat and trivial talks majority of the time, and to take time out and start drawing and painting, to have be peace with their mind. That's what I want to do. Okay, so now you can see where I come from. Anyway, so let's take the brush here, 20%, And then let me do this. Let me show you what I do here. I usually start off with 20%. If you've seen a majority of my drawings, start off with a line brush and then I move to shade to do the blending. And with the line brush, it allows you to get the settings at the 100% settings. And don't worry about the density, I'll explain it. And then it allows you to pick to do block coloring of the whole. Block coloring means you want to lay down the foundational colors of this image as much as possible, the reference colors. Okay, look what I'm doing. Right there. Can you see it? I'm just using this to color in, color picker, and then just laying down it's the same way that an artist would put down their first layer of paint on the canvas. Very similar. And they do that because they want to lay down the first step of the drawing process. Now, the drawing process is not talked about in detail with artists, and there's a good reason for that. I sort of question why they don't. And the reason is that the drawing process is unique to the artist. That's why it's really hard for them to explain it. Most of the artists you see in YouTube creating content, they're not teachers. They don't want to be a teacher. They love the whole pursuit of drawing, and they just want to show you what they do. And a lot of people get mesmerized by it, and then they start following. But very few, very few will try and tackle what they're doing. You know, maybe they feel that it's something they could have done at one time in their life, but they can't. That's what I did. I've taken the brush down, and I did it almost instinctively without telling you guys. Sorry about that. And the reason I did that was because I knew the features of this mountain scene requires a smaller brush. I could use typically just change and stick to the old brush, but then I would be missing these smaller details. I might as well do it in the first pass while I'm enjoying this. So this is basically picking out the color tones of these areas and just applying them here. That's all I'm doing. I'm picking out these tones, and these mountainous tones are so easy. You've probably seen the wonderful mountain scenes that Bob Ross has created. And there's a reason for enjoying these scenes. They're so wonderful, majestic to look at, right? So I picked this because I've been doing the dark sunsets recently, and I thought would be nice to do the people who subscribe to my channel might think that I can't draw anything else. I can't draw day nature during its day, but I'm going to prove you wrong here. Look what I'm doing. I'm not too worried about the details here. And this is doing two things while I'm drawing like this. It's helping me to see tones, and it's also improving my drawing strokes. It's shaping me to think what the actual reference image is looking like. You know, it's got a lot of these features, and I'm just capturing some of the broad strokes, right? Broad colors. That's all I'm doing. Notice this color of the snow scene here. It's open quite wide. Just going to color it in with the same. And then notice this going on here. And then this here. That's all I'm capturing, seeing these. And then I'm going to give you the analogy, right? Let's say you're interested in buying clothes, cars, or anything, any particular something that you want in life, right? What happens is that your brain becomes tuned to that object or the desire, what you want to possess. And as a result, you see more of that. For example, a car or model you have in mind, lo and behold, every time you go out, you see more of that car, right? It's the same. You're tuning your brain into seeing more of the tones you're beginning to become more comfortable with this reference image that you so much want to put it in canvas, right, into your own drawing. And you begin to really appreciate what nature has given you. And that's the reason for the popularity of drawing with landscapes. You know, this is one of the most popular fields in the world, isn't it? Drawing landscapes. If you look it up in Google, you'll see the subject is always landscape. It's the greatest artist history has ever known has been landscapes. Van Gogh, Cézanne, Monet, you know, Turner, Constable. You begin to really appreciate drawing and painting as you keep drawing like this. So easy. Am I doing anything different? Tell me what's so hard about this. There's absolutely nothing hard about this. And you can switch to a smaller brush here. Look, and capture those little landscapey. Right? You're free to do that. You don't have to exactly copy me. That's what Bob Ross said. And I was watching his program, and he said the same thing. Don't don't always copy me. Follow your instincts, because that's how you develop the skills, isn't it? But don't follow your own skill sets at the beginning when you're learning, because you don't have much of the skill sets in the first place. All right. So become like a sponge. So the other tip and advice I can give you is just become a big sponge to take in information from what teachers are going to tell you. You know, keep your mind open. Don't come with prejudiced thinking of what being talked about because you've seen it or heard it. Believe me, it's different from seeing and actually doing. Right there, can you see this? These tones I'm capturing. I'm doing the background first. Right there. Look at that. It's beautiful block coloring. Almost, you could almost go through this whole image just by doing this, and feel free to do that because you will become very more comfortable with how you should apply the painting, how you should apply the colors, which the color picker is really helping us to I'm glad I picked this small brush because I can get to these trees, right? And they're still big for some of the branches, but still we can make do with what we have. And I can go really quickly because I've done this before, right? And I've got some experience. So you take your time as much as long. Look at the shade that on this particular tree, right? This is where Bob Ross mixes his paints. You know, when he talks about the different colors, add a bit that he's actually talking about getting the tones, the different tones for the different bushes and everything, right? I mean, it's hard for him to say, okay, I'm trying to get a darker tone here. He usually just says, pick this color, get this thallium blue, or Van Dyke black. You know what I'm talking about. Or get this color. But here we don't have to. We got this beautiful, wonderful color picker that's so much powerful than you are. Right, look how quickly we're just, I'm going to do the background of this mountain scene. Just make sure I capture most of it before I go to these line of trees here. Right, so I'm just following the areas and quickly dabbing the areas. Right, very quickly the dark areas. Can you see what I'm doing? Dark areas here. So you do the same thing. And if this gets in the way, just click on the cross button and you'll get to your colors. All right? It was designed for that. All right, just keep doing that there. So I've not used any digital tool. I'm drawing just like the real way of drawing, traditional. Just look at the colors, how the green has changed into a lighter green, the dark green, and it's got beautiful hues on these trees, right? Do you see how you get close to the details? It's wonderful, isn't it? And Bob Ross, when he was in Alaska, during his time when he was learning his art style, it's a beautiful land, isn't it? Alaska. It's got mountainous regions, and the sun reflects more light into the scene, and that's why he puts such gold hues, very light hues and dark hues on his canvas, right? So let's see what we have now with this little step. Look how we've created that so quickly, isn't it? What was it, like space of 15, 20 minutes? So we go through the same thing again, right? Same thing. This is a drawing process. Let's save it. Don't forget to save. Same thing. Use the, oops, just sort of use the zoom here. You can use the fingers to zoom and then click on the zoom button if you want to get closer, right? Like there. See? So let's just continue to use this brush. And the reason I'm continuing to use this brush is because it's about the right size of these bushes that's happening here. Remember, Bob Ross also used heavy, thick brushes, and then he used the bristles to get the effects of the tree, and then he would also load the brush with 2, 3 colors to get the same, in the same stroke, several colors on at the same time, isn't it? He'd even applied it with his knife when he used the knife, and then that's why he's able to draw so rapidly and makes drawings that like truly just amazing. But then after he launched his courses, it was found that these techniques could be learned by anyone. It's the same here, man. Nothing different. You can learn these techniques. There's no rocket science involved. He never claimed that he was the pioneer of this technique. He just said that everyone should enjoy the love of painting and drawing. And I know why he would say that, because I have the same enjoyment when I'm making a piece of drawing. Remember, it's not for an artist, it's not the final piece of art that actually gives them so much satisfaction. It's the actual journey of just being lost and just doing it, being carried away and just doing it, creating something. Just like nature has created this beautiful scenery for for all of us to behold, right? We can also capture some of that nature. In fact, I did that with my recently with my poetry as well. So there's no barriers, no nothing to stop you. And I quite like this brush because the fields, you can see the foreground fields is these vibrant colors, which I'm picking up. That's all I want to do. Pick up these vibrant colors, and then we'll decide what we're going to do afterwards. That's what Bob Ross used to say. He never had a particular direction in mind. He says, let's put a happy tree there to make this, the kind of things he said, because he's going with the flow. It was his love and passion, even though he was exceptionally popular. He was like throughout the world. At his time, but he still remained humble and true to his original craft, right? There, look as we get closer how the bushes have come more prominent here, right? That's it. So remember, have it this in halfway line. This is block coloring to a level where it's so easy to draw, and you'll feel that. Well, I mean, you're not drawing. Come on, you're just using. It's like paint by numbers, isn't it? But it's way more versatile. There again. So this is. Look at that. These purple. I want to capture these purples so I know there are purples here. Purple haze, right? And this greenery, and I'm following. Notice how I'm following the direction of the bush. You know, I'm creating that stroke that I've got, right? Got circular sweeping stroke, right? And picking up a tone each time, right? Let's have a look how we're doing. Are we getting close to it? Look at that lovely bush. Can you see how that lovely bush Bob Ross created with his brush? He did it with one stroke of his brush, isn't it? It's amazing. And digital has its own set of powerful tools, and it's all about techniques. You notice that he had the same brush, but he applied different techniques each time, right? This is what digital as well. Apply techniques. Techniques are the thing that's gonna get you to a greater level of detail, and the tools are just the means of getting. So there. So I'm gonna go very quickly, rapidly here. So because I do have another class as well that I wanna have to do, which is the produce channel, which was my other channel. So if you've got something to do and you want to skip this or even carry on with the next, I've got another drawing that I've lined up in the other channel as well. So look at the wonderful colors. It's the colors that actually propelled me to do drawings. Colors that you become, you feel the necessity to draw, right? Colors. Look how quickly we're going to do that. If you used any tools, it would just be too hard, isn't it? Right, it's all done with a scribbly. Do you see that hibiscus flower I did? I got, at one point I got so so challenged by it, but I kept going. It was basically a free form drawing that I did, trying to copy this, trying to replicate this hibiscus picture that I had, which was what I was trying to draw, and then I just kept at it, and then at it. I was one time, I was going to give up, and then I asked myself, what, really? When have you ever given up on a painting? But it did challenge me a lot, and then eventually I just kept at it, and then eventually it came out to a level that I was satisfied with. Maybe some others will pick corners. Look at that. Isn't that lovely the way we are just producing this, isn't it? We could have put a lake here, right, if we wanted to, but I think I'll skip it this time. Let's just. So I'm going to do something here because I've been saying I'm going to open it up again from the home screen because I'm working on the prototype app here. So that's the reason why sometimes we're checking for memory leaks here on some of the devices. So I'm just a bit fast. But you won't have any problems with the one that you install on the from the live Play Store. Very quickly, just run through this and see where the tones are, right? Nothing different. Just pick up the tones and the different tones will come into life, meaning the different values of this green, this dark green, they will just come into life as you keep doing and there you're building up a picture, okay? That's all you're doing. And I don't know how I'm gonna go through the next bit of the drawing after I've done this. I'm still thinking in my head, but I want the actual drawing or the drawing step to determine the direction I'm going to take. That's what the drawing step is, because I'm using a very different approach to what I'm typically used to with the other types of drawing, but I have come across this method where I have used drawing, and the reason is there's so much detail. Look at this little brown blue area, which I noticed while I was observing this particular scene. So very quickly go through. Then anywhere you see there's a light pink there, just a scribble. So could be called a scribble method of drawing a landscape. So you can see that the stylus does help, and the fact that it glides so easily helps even more. So when a lot of people talk about, oh, I don't have the same feel as pencil and paper, it's because they're at the very early stages. Do I think about having the same pencil and paper feel? No, that's been long gone after a few weeks into doing digital drawing. You know, traditional people say, I don't have the same what? What, do you feel the pencil and paper every time you draw and you're aware of it? Of course not. I'm noticing what the tones are doing. I'm not worried about how I feel when it comes to drawing. The feeling comes from the pleasure of doing the drawing process, which I will explain in a bit more detail. So notice I'm following the direction. Yeah. So feel free to post. There are quite a few people now posting their digital drawings, and a lot of people are still scratching their head thinking, how did you manage to do this drawing? So they cannot see the value of power of the digital medium. They're waking up to it, you know. So all right, so we're almost done here, isn't it? Look how quickly I'm going, very rapidly. You see, I can work with speed. I'm not the kind of person who's gonna tinker around. If you ask me to do something, I'll do it with complete focus and attention. Let's see where we are. Wow, look how what a difference it makes, doesn't it? Once we've done the whole composition. Look at that, the beautiful fields. And this area we haven't done, right? Just touch on that. And touch the areas. So that was actually a drawing step that I want to show you, which is now I'm covering up some of the areas. Look, there, can you see? By using that small tool that we were able to create this fine image, which looks so impressive, isn't it? It's almost like a scene that when you've gone out to the plains or USA or anywhere else in the world, you'll probably have seen it, right? Now, let's do something of the blending the sky, right? Let's try and do the sky blend. Look how beautifully blended it is. So here is when we switch to shade brush, and then I'm going to take it up to 12%, and then I keep it at 100%. Don't worry about that. And let me pick the color tone. Notice I've got it all the way to my drawing canvas. I pick the darkest color tone, and then I just sweep across. I pick the other tone, and then you know where the edge is? Oof, I hate when that happens. And you see where the edge is? I go over it just to diffuse it. See that? Let's pick that tone, and then I'm just going across. Once I pick that tone, I'm just going over it. And it's basically just removing. Look, this one, I'm going to watch how I put the shade here. I'm going to increase that a little bit, tad more, because the area is quite bigger. Look at that, how I've managed to shade that sky. Isn't it beautiful? Taking those ugly horizontal lines that looks like, illustrations from another book. Well, illustrations of a printer, I would say, right? There, look at that color, the darker color, and just merge it. That's all it is. It's almost like magic. Look at that, beautiful, isn't it? Isn't that amazing? And then here, bring that blue back again, and then pick that blue color, and then just go over that edge. Here, you'll see it a little bit better now to see how it just blends. Look at that beautiful blending. And then here, pick that blend. Look at that. And here, you can't get blending like that with the blending brush. You'll have to do all kinds of calculations. All right, look at that. Lovely sky. And if you want to, you can say it's not quite. I feel there's a horizontal. Then, okay, watch. I just increase that. I pick that light adjacent and then just shift. Not too much heavy strokes there. See that? How effortless that was. So let's save that. And then how are we going to do this mountain scene, right? That's probably a good idea. Let's fix this mountain scene. How are we going to do that? Let's look at that mountain. Wow, that looks so majestic just sitting up there, and we have our mountain scene. I'm thinking how I'm going to do this. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back to the line brush here. And then I'm going to try and lower the density and then work at it a little bit closer in detail. And I'll show you what I mean. Right? Let's go to this left side of the mountain here. Right? Let's go. This spot we're going to try and work on, yeah? And then let's see if we can improve that. Okay? So I have some ideas that I want to do. Okay, I'm going to save this. Did I save it? Yeah, let's go save. And then I'm going to open it up again. Okay, and then my paintings. You don't have to do that. If you feel that there is some, if you feel it's getting a bit slow, then you can do that. But it shouldn't affect you. It's only very few devices that we're checking with. Look at that. Right, so we're getting close to the area. And this is what I'm going to do here. I'm trying to get the mountain as close and the eyes close to the as possible. How do I do that? Well, first of all, we need a small brush, right? So I've got a 1.6 and I've got 40% on the density. And the density, I'll give you a quick explanation, is the opacity of the brush, right? It's a very important point. It means that if you had think of it like a pencil, It's the gradient of the pencil, hard black, all the way to HB on the bottom here. But you have much more granular gradations of that pencil compared to a real pencil. So you have a much higher degree of control, and hence the reason why I could make photorealistic drawings far quickly and far easier than pencil, because the pencil has limitations of how much gradient you can achieve, and you do that through pressure of your hand. And again, here is what happens with the digital world. Some of these people who are beginners want pressure control of the brush. Have I gone for pressure control? No, it's not necessary. Totally unnecessary. You've got opacity, a much better control. You're not. Come on, you're not trying to replicate the real world of pencil drawing to your digital world. That's like saying, you know what? I think I'm going to try and get some of the principles of oil into watercolor. It just it's just not even thought about. But that's in reality what is happening with traditional and digital. So let's look at this, and let's see if we can pull off something that is close to that. Okay, so I'm going to pick the color picker here, right? And then I'm going to pick these stones here, and then I'm going to see if I've managed to pull the. So what's happening is that I'm using a less opacity, and then I'm just simply, and I'm going to see if that works, right? If it works, why not use it, right? Right? Because that's what we're trying to get at. This is what Bob Ross has done. He says that if I can pull it off with minimal effort, why not, right? Why not do it? Because then I can teach others to draw far more rapidly and quickly. He was, he never really kept focusing on how quickly he drew. He just wondered about the techniques, the speed at which he can do something, right? And the techniques behind it. That's all he was interested. And he produced a range of. So remember, that's what we're going to do. And so what we're doing now, we're not even drawing. I'm not even showing you another method I had in mind, because I know you're learning and you want to be able to be in a position to draw well, right? Improve your drawing. Okay. And believe me, if you're learning, you should actually talk to your art teacher about this method of painting and see what they say, and then come back and post it here, and I'll give you some feedback on, add to what they're saying. Because they've never come across it, that's the problem with, they may not have come across, it's the problem with people is that they look at things different eye set and they think, no, it's not possible, because they haven't explored it enough in order to make a good distinction. That's the problem with this world, is we judge far too quickly. And I've seen that happen in practice. Some of the blog posts that I put down, you know, look at that, it's beautiful. So we're just seeing the little nooks and crannies of this mountain scene. And then we don't know if we've actually improved it by drawing this way, but we can check in a minute. And then let's draw this so we know that the smaller brush, we've probably covered a few things. This is a tree line. Oh yeah, I forgot, this is the actual tree line. And then we may have to have a different opacity settings for the tree line. We don't know yet. This tree is one of these bold trees. Let's see if we pulled it off. What do you think? Do you think that we've look at the top of this mountain here, right? That's what we worked on. Did we pull it off? I think we have. I think we can carry on doing what we're doing. And I want you to do it this way because you don't have to bring any artistic skills at this stage yet. So I just want you to continue following this and get a good feel of how these tones collectively creates an image that, the eyes are not able to decipher, and therefore makes the whole image look much more pleasing to the eye, right? Like photographic, right? So let's just continue up this path, right? As we're doing. Seems to be working. I'm not too fussed with that. This is really, and the reason I want you to continue is that I know I'm changing. I'm not introducing complex topics of where I would use my artistic experience now to bear by switching to the completely to my drawing and then switching back to the original reference image. I'm not going to do that as I have done in some of my earlier drawings. I'm just going to ask you to just happily and merrily just go along like this and look at these tones that are happening at this higher resolution, and just keep doing it, yeah, because then eventually you'll get comfortable in your ability to do the strokes. Look at these little, I'm just color picker again and picking up these tones and then using the smaller brush to add more detail, yeah? That's all I'm doing. On this side here, look at that there. Then you get an idea of what an image consists of that you're trying to render into your drawing, right? That's all. Because you're just working with tones. So this is like an exercise in tones. Trying to appreciate tones the best way possible is like looking at a picture, drawing the picture, but at the same time seeing the nuances of where the picture changes and where the tones change, how the tones come into being, and how you, when you look away from a distance, how it comes all together. This is the technique, in essence, was used by the great art, some of the greatest artists the history has ever known. Like, for example, I'll give you an example of Constable, right? You might know his famous painting, the Haywain. So the Haywain was one of his famous painting where there's a cart in the middle of a marshland, the cottage on the left, and there on the cart is a boy and a man, I think, with a hat, and there's a dog barking on the left side. Now, this particular image has been viewed by many people because it's so wonderful. It was in fact, I had an encyclopedia when I was very young, and that painting drew me a lot, and then it's always been in my mind. And then I did it with block coloring, and then I realized like this, and then I realized that I managed to get into the mindset of Constable and how he actually made this painting. Because if you look close up at his cart, the cart that's sitting on the marsh, when you start doing block coloring at this detail, you'll realize that the cart is like a mishmash of colors. There's no form or shape to it, like you'd expect when you get closer, right? And then you'd think, wow, you know, it's like he's produced something that when you look at the overall picture, it looks like it all comes together, fits in, right? And that's what really attracted me to block coloring. And I thought this is effectively the way that most people drew in the first place, painted. And it's true, you'll go to a museum and you'll see it. You clearly see that even paintings like Monet, that they've used a mishmash of brush strokes, but it all comes together when you look away, right? Step away. It's the same thing here. A mishmash of brush strokes which I'm doing. Nothing photographic or actual or real. Just following these dark tones, light tones. And that's what they do as well. Following these dark tones, light tones. And sooner or later you'll have something that is very pleasant to look at. Look at that. We're going to do this. Look at the colors of the green. Can you see how this thing is coming alive now? Right? Can you see how you're able to tune your brain into seeing much more, you know, very close tones? Yeah? You'll see that automatically your tonal eyes will increase. And this is the way this is a technique that's been used by artists, and I'm just applying it to the digital so you can learn from it. Do you want to see what we've got then, eh? Let's have a look. Look at those trees are coming into shape, isn't it, on the left? Right, look at that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to concentrate now on this area so you can clearly see the improvements you can make with no drawing skills at all, right? And then I'm going to stop there, and I like to for you to post this image. So if you were having trouble saying what is the issue you were having in trying to tackle this, you know, you could let me know and I'll give you some feedback. Because don't be shy or anything. No, just speak your mind. But if you're going to dislike something, you know, it's pointless disliking something without really any regards to what it is that you're disliking, right? Let's open it up again. Yeah, I remember I had this memory thing. So this is what we have here. So I'm going to focus. This is our drawing, and we're focusing on these trees on the left, and that's what we're going to continue to do. Okay, and we got 1.6%. Even that, I feel is small. What do you think? That too big, but I think we can get away with it. Let's just stick to this brush and let's just create these tones. So much more fun, isn't it? When you draw like this is the real essence of drawing, and this is what the painters all their lives continue to draw, like Bob Ross, even down to his deathbed, right? He continues to paint because it's what he loves most. It's the reason why he did all those drawings tirelessly on his show, The Joy of Painting. See, we picked up this color, so we still got 50%. So I'm okay with that. Yeah, I think it could be reduced a little bit. So I'm going to take it to 35% just to see. Remember, experimentation is the key for you to keep your skills up. Don't be afraid to experiment. If you don't, you're not going to learn anything. You'll just be doing the same thing again and again. You know, it may seem obvious, but trust me, a lot of people want the easy route to a lot of things. If you're not prepared to put the effort in, you know, I mean, I don't call this effort, I call this fun. Look at these ones here. The reason why we've got that density setting, it means that we can bring about a sort of a hazy, diffused look. Right, this is block coloring at its best. And then, by the way, I will be introducing a new method of block coloring, which will increase your time to do drawings like this at 1/10 of the time. Yeah, so you can wait for the next release. This is effectively like drawing like paint by numbers, but it's much more under your control, right? It's way more like customized to your level of how you want to draw, right? Let's just go ahead and just... Once you get this level of detail, when you see, you find that when you come to render freehand drawing of something, you've got mastery of some of the skills, and you'll be able to produce drawings and paintings without relying on the trace method, right? And that's what I do. And it just opens up your creativity to a whole new level. Keep doing it, okay? That's what I want you to, that's what I'd like you to do. Just follow. And then you can see how quickly you can make progress. Right, these areas which I haven't touched. Right, look at these wonderful trees here. So when the new method of block coloring comes in, I think everyone's going to be drawing like this, painting like this, capturing every detail, and then putting their own little touches to it. Look how fast and quick I'm moving through this. Right there. Look at that. Let's have a look. Yes, it is coming out. And then let's look at this area. Let's try and capture this mountainous region. And I'm going to head towards another skill set here. I'm going to go like this, switch between that and try and capture to make sure I've got the right density. I'm going to capture some of this. Right there, can you see it? There. And then capture some of the dark colors. Right, just try and capture some of the dark colors here. See that color? Do you see that color? This was the color that we need to and make it look part of the actual drawing, right? And then we're going to fix this area. Can you see that? There, I'm looking at it, and I'm going to say, you know, and then now I can check whether I have the right density. Then I can see this going through here, and a bit of the white there, right, giving the illusion that there's some snow there. And then look here. Right, so switch. So I'm just going, looking at the original and looking at my drawing and saying, you know what, I think I need to do some detailed works there. So I can, that's where I get really close to the details and understand which of the density is working or not. This one, can you see that tree? That's not working. So you could shape it like this, right? And then look at this blue, right? We can take some of that blue and just shape it, right? And then here the same thing, right? Got that dark branch coming out. And then you see when we were doing it blindly, it wasn't making sense. And we got the dark color here. Right? Now it's making sense, right? And then now you can see that that is looking like a tree, right? And then because we weren't really seeing the trees, and now you can see for yourself just one color. This is what Bob Ross does, right? He does it in one sweep because he knows what to put in there. Look at that, the beautiful trees, and you'll see what a difference that makes. Right there. And then notice that there's some of that blue that's happening here, which gives the impression that there's light seeping through. And then look at this tree here. There, can you see that? There. We can do the same. We can get the colors there. Right. There. Right. And then here. And then use some of that blue to just chisel back. And use some of that color here just to show you these techniques, okay? Just to give the form of that tree that wasn't really coming up. Now let's look at it. That's definitely looking like trees now, isn't it? So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to go through all of that. And then as an exercise, I would like you to go through it and just show me your wonderful painting that you've done. You know, this is just a technique I've shown you. I'll probably adopt a different technique, and I'll talk more about it in tomorrow's live stream session on this. And if you posted anything, I will talk a bit more about it. But if you have not, then I will just go over it in a summary form tomorrow. So please do subscribe to the channel and put down any subjects or any particular images that you would want me to go through, because I always pick out these images to show you these, excuse me, these techniques, and I hope that you can direct me in with what you'd like to see. So I hope you've enjoyed this. So don't forget, there's another one coming up in half an hour, the Produce channel. So I'll see you, hopefully see you there as well. Thank you very much for watching, and see you then. Bye.